Either we heal as a team, or we're going to crumble. Inch by inch, play by play, till we're finished. We're in hell right now, gentlemen, believe me. And we can stay here, get the shit kicked out of us, or we can fight our way back into the light. We can climb out of hell. 1 inch at a time. You know, when you get old in life, things get taken from you. I mean, that's part of life. But you only learn that when you start losing stuff. You find out life's this game of inches. So is football. Because in either game, life or football, the margin for error is so small. I mean, 1/2 a step too late or too early, and you don't quite make it. 1/2 second too slow, too fast, you don't quite catch it. The inches we need are everywhere around us. Hell yeah. They're in every break of the game, every minute, every second. On this team, we fight for that inch. On this team, we tear ourselves and everyone else around us to pieces for that inch. We claw our fingernails for that inch. Because we know when we add up all those inches, that's going to make the fucking difference between winning and losing. Between living and dying. I'll tell you this, in any fight, it's the guy who's willing to die who's going to win that inch. And I know if I'm going to have any life anymore, it's because I'm still willing to fight and die for that inch. Because that's what living is. There's 6 inches in front of your face. Now, I can't make you do it. You got to look at the guy next to you. Look into his eyes. Now, I think you're going to see a guy who will go that inch with you. You're going to see a guy who will sacrifice himself for this team because he knows when it comes down to it, you're going to do the same for him. That's a team, gentlemen. And either we heal now as a team, or we will die as individuals.
Ideas are bulletproof.
Welcome, one and all. It is Friday, December 16th, 2011. This is Down the Rabbit Hole. I'm your host, Popeye from FederalJack.com, and I'm a little pissed off today. Not too happy with what's going on in the world and the apathy of the average putz walking around in the street. And to join me in my rage tonight, in my anger, my righteous anger, I may add, is my good friend, my brother from another mother, Mr. Joe Joseph.
You used righteous anger. I love that term. It is probably... It's one thing that people really don't understand.
There's anger, and then there's righteous anger.
Man,
that it's okay to be effing angry, right, Joe?
I mean, there's so many damn things going on that you should be angry about. Holy crap! I mean, just today alone, you know, the GOP says Keystone Pipeline to stay in the payroll tax bill, which means that they're going to approve this Keystone Pipeline thing to go through. Anybody that doesn't understand what the Keystone Pipeline is, just think about this. When you're in your neighborhood or you drive through your town, every once in a while you will hear something on the radio or on TV, or maybe it'll happen in your own neighborhood where you have a water main break, right? Because you typically don't maintain pipes that are buried under the ground. Just doesn't happen. If it breaks, you go ahead and you repair it. Well, enter the Keystone oil pipeline that runs from Canada all the way down to the
Joe,
Gulf
these
of Mexico.
these oil companies don't have a history of like oil leaks or anything, right?
Oh, it's not. Sure. And nuclear power is safe too, but we'll get into that later. The problem is this pipeline, Popeye, goes right through the Ogala Aquifer, the biggest aquifer in the United States. So what
I
kind of...
heard that they agreed that they were going to move it around the aquifer, but I don't know if that's true or not. I heard about a week, maybe a week and a half ago.
I haven't seen
going to go around a certain portion of it or whatever. But I know the aquifer is huge, and they planned on running it like right through the middle of it.
Yeah, I don't see how much they can go around it. I mean, the thing is enormous, and they were going, like you said,
have to go about 5 or 6 extra states just to go around it. So somebody probably sold out, and they're probably going to run it over a smaller portion of over the aquifer. But all you need to do is have one little leak, Joe. Right. But of course, that never happens. Like, these oil companies have a safety record that's impeccable, right? Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Right. Wait a minute. I have to put down the drugs because I'm not looking at reality. I'm in La La Land. Hold on. Let me slap myself, have a cup of coffee. Oh, let me look at the safety record now. Oh, God. I guess I really wouldn't want them running it through the aquifer.
You know, isn't it interesting? It's like I say all the time, how backwards things are and just how incredibly naive people are to believe what they're told by talking heads in the mainstream media and by bureaucrats. It makes absolutely no sense to me. And why? Why is there an oil pipeline going down to the Gulf of Mexico? You know, that's my thing. What do we need it for? I don't know.
And breaking news, just to get this out there, because Rob is a friend of mine. He's been a guest on the show. Guy that runs Pig Mine YouTube channel. He's been doing it for a couple of years now. He's very big. He's up to Pig Mine number 3. Apparently, he got a death threat. So against him and his family.
Really?
Yeah. Apparently,
Why?
It happened.
What for?
I'm sure because he put over the information he puts out. You know, I mean, and it might not even be some government stooge. It could just be some douchebag that's brainwashed and doesn't want to hear the truth. Which there are those people you have to watch out for.
Right. Let me explain something to people. If you're going to get a death threat, it's not coming from the government or anything like that. If they want you dead, you're going to die. You'll be dead. They'll come by in the dark of night, black baggy, gone. You see you later. You're not going to get a death threat. I'm sorry. That's probably some shill troll.
Probably some troll douchebag. Either the guy's a troll or he's whatever. But I figure I'd put it out there to just to cover him just in case. You never know. So yeah. Rob's a friend of mine, and I like to look out for my friends. So and he's a good guy.
Absolutely.
Busts his ass. So
yeah.
And, let's give Pig Mine, Rob a round of applause, a little golf clap. A little golf clap from me. That's for you, Rob. All right, my squeaky chair in the background. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, I still don't have the studio 100%. I'm about 90%. Joe saw a video of it today. It looks pretty good, right, Joe?
Yeah, it's not bad, man. I mean, it's coming together. Yeah. I'm actually kind of impressed. The big thing that, it's like anytime you move, you get a good opportunity to weed through all the crap that you've amassed.
I love throwing things out. I actually like giving stuff away. I gave a bunch of stuff away today. In fact, it was funny. I brought it downstairs by the elevators in my old complex. And before I could get upstairs to my apartment, in between, I should say, the time of me putting it downstairs and going upstairs to get a piece of paper and a pen to write free on and come back down, which took me a minute and a half, 2 minutes, it all disappeared. So somebody got the hint.
Hey, that's cool. That's fantastic. And,
I'd rather somebody use it, dude. I give away clothes. I don't do Goodwill. I drive around and I look for homeless people. And I say, hey, if there's chicks, I give them clothes. A lot of times I look for the homeless vets that are within a mile or two of the VA hospital, find them under a bridge or whatever, and I'll stop and I'll give them old clothes. Or if I know someone that throws out clothes, I do the same thing. I take it from them. Why waste it? I had one friend, he's a good friend of mine, I'd do anything for him, but when it came to that, he was, I don't want anybody getting my stuff. And he would literally go, he wouldn't let anybody take it. And after he threw it out, I would go climb, because usually it was on the side of his apartment building. And he was, a lot of times, a couple times he would just throw it next to the dumpster, so I'd pick it up. If it got chucked into the dumpster, then I'd get something and I'd fish it out. And I put close in a fresh bag. Why waste stuff like that? So, ladies and gentlemen, don't give stuff to that Goodwill crap, because you don't know what they're doing with it. Most of that shit they end up selling in a store. Do yourself a favor. You know somebody that needs clothes, you need to take care of, give it to them directly. You're helping them more. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be right back. We're going to break. Ladies and gentlemen, we are back. Joe, are you angry? I know I'm pretty pissed off about what's been going on.
Yeah, man. I mean, there's just so much crap that's...
Dude, have you noticed we went into fifth gear? Like, in fact, we actually left fifth and we're in overdrive now.
Man,
we were in like third going into fourth. Obama got in and he's been shifting gears like a madman. You know what I mean? He's
absolutely
going crazy.
But my question is, why the urgency? And why so fast? What's going on that they feel the urgency to do that? And I think I have the answer, and it's because Ron Paul's campaign is a good indication of just how much people are coming around and waking up. And it's easy for us to say all the time, well, everybody's asleep, the masses are asleep, and in a lot of ways you're right. But if anything, the Ron Paul campaign is showing that people are waking up, and at a much faster pace than I think they anticipated. Like if for example, I did a video tonight on my channel, the Freedom Link Radio, that kind of showcases why it is the media and the other GOP candidates are so pissed off right now. And that's really the only way I can describe it. If you saw the way Sean Hannity interviewed Ron Paul last night post-debate, I mean, anybody that's a Ron Paul supporter would be pissed. Like, they want to rip his throat out and like...
Well, let me guess. Did he ask about that stupid stuff from, like, back in the day in one of the newsletters? Because I heard Sean's show earlier on the air when I was driving. I heard him on the AM on 610 WIOD, which is down here. And he was like, wait, you're going to hear me interview Ron Paul tonight. I'm going to ask him because, and a lot of his listeners say, oh, you're picking on Ron Paul. But I'm not picking on Ron Paul. I ask the same kind of questions. If the man's going to be a president, then he has to be ready to answer certain types of questions and blah, 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 blah. The whole time pontificating as if he is the arbiter of truth. Sean Hannity isn't the arbiter of the bathroom, okay?
Yeah. He's the biggest wiener.
He is such a douche.
That freaking voice, man. That voice is like...
And if he ever hears this, if you ever hear this, Joe and I will extend you the red carpet to debate either one of us.
I would love it.
Or if you and Bill O'Reilly want to gang up and
I would welcome
me
it.
And Joe versus you and Bill any day of the week, dude.
Better yet, how about a steel cage match?
Oh, can we do that?
I would love it.
Are we allowed to do that? Because
I would love it.
It would end in about 5.5 seconds because I'd make O'Reilly eat the effing chair.
Oh, see, I would say it would last about 5 hours because I would not let it be quick. There would be no mercy, and it would be long and painful. And I would make sure that they never forget what happened to them and that they go to sleep every night and have nightmares over it. Because that's what these people need, dude. They need to be put in their place. And it's just when you hear this just this weenie whiny voice that Hannity's got, it drives me absolutely insane. But
you ever see his videos? He's always doing the neuro-linguistic programming with his fingers and his hands, and he's always throwing up signs and stuff. And it's to make your subconscious act a certain way or think you know what I mean? Or it's to get you to it literally he moves you from mood to mood. And I want to smack him, dude. I can't stand him. He's not really a reporter. That guy is just a jack off with a suit and a microphone. Okay?
But they have nothing to attack Ron Paul with. And so, like, what you see is
anything they could find. If Ron Paul made an illegal left when he was 19, they'd be like, Congressman Paul, I know you're running for president, and blah, 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 but you made an illegal left when you were 19. And, he'll be like, well, since I'm 75, they really didn't, he probably didn't even have driver's licenses back when he was a kid.
No, they probably didn't, dude.
Let's be honest, that hasn't been around forever either. Everybody's like, whoa, what are you talking about, Popeye? The founding fathers made licenses, didn't they? No. Okay. Licenses came about after the automobile. It was after, not before. After. And of course, I know, it originally stemmed from a good idea. Well,
all I know is this. They have nothing. They have no leg to stand on, and it's driving them. It's driving them crazy, dude. It's driving them absolutely out of their mind crazy.
Against him.
Nothing.
What day is it? I don't even know how old you have to be to vote. What a dick. What?
Nothing. But nothing's working. Do you notice? He's the one that's steadily rising in the polls. And you got to ask yourself
what they have against him, Joe. Michelle Bachmann, Rick Dick Perry, okay? And then New World Order, I Love Satan, and, blowing him Gingrich. I mean, come on. Of course, Ron Paul's he's gonna show for who he is, and when they go up, people are starting to see with the sunglasses on. They got the They Live sunglasses on, and they're looking at Gingrich, and they're like, wait a minute. I remember when you were trying to give the death penalty for people that that smoke pot. Yes, he wanted the death penalty for people convicted of crimes involving marijuana. Okay? Hello? So if you're a pothead, the death penalty, but you can, go ahead and F little girls and F little boys and, sacrifice them, and that's okay. But God forbid you smoke pot, death penalty. I mean, where the hell are we? We're in like bizarro world and nobody's angry. That's the thing that really pisses me off is like nobody really cares. Everybody's fine. As long as their cell phone makes effing pancakes, they don't care. Well, I can watch The League on my show.
I would say for the most part, that was true. But I'm telling you, man, people are waking up at a much faster pace now than they were, and it shows in some of the polling data that's coming out. The real polling data that's coming out now. Some of the southern states, and like I think today, Nikki Haley, governor of South Carolina, supposed Tea Party diva, goes and endorses Romney. And, in a lot of ways we saw that coming. But if for anything else, and believe me, I'm like one of the biggest proponents of Ron Paul. Like I said, I put out a video today just showcasing his consistency, especially because this Iran argument really pissed me off last night during that debate. So I gave a little historical background on that. But
what's really, he held his own. I was pretty impressed.
Oh, he did. It was fantastic.
After I was on your show last night, I saw it. I thought, the old man held his own.
Well, what's bad,
and of course, you had the jerk-offs in the audience. Boo! Probably Fox employees. It was probably Sean Hannity and Bill O'Reilly. Boo! And John McCain in the background. And I had a dream I was going skiing, and I woke up with both of you on my side, on either side of me. Ugh, John McCain. Well, a bunch of jerk-offs.
So you have these people that all they do is they just show just how frickin' rotten and evil they really are, and people are starting to see it. I mean,
you can't hide it now. It's to the point where
anymore.
But they don't even bother hiding it, Joe.
No, but I mean, that's just
30 years ago when they tried to do something, they would at least try to cover it up. Now they're just like,
it's so ridiculous.
You caught us, but who gives a shit? Because you're not going to prosecute us,
right? So
we're just going to do what we want. F you and F your Constitution.
Right, because the people aren't holding them accountable.
Exactly. We'll get into that when we come back. It's about personal responsibility, ladies and gentlemen. Okay?
I love that.
It starts very small and works its way up. And Joe and I are going to get into that. We'll be right back. Personal responsibility.
Ah, yes. You're listening to the soft sounds of Charlie Brown Christmas here on Down the Rabbit Hole with Popeye.
It's actually nice and relaxing. We have our own Phantom of the Radio Network in the background. That's Jimmy X, ladies and gentlemen. He is in the background, as he always is, and
lurking in the corner.
Yes, he's decided to play some Christmas bumpers tonight for us. And I actually think it's I like piano, to be honest with you. It's very soothing. You know, music can sometimes not sometimes, it can either amp you up or get you thinking or... You know what's interesting about music? It's one of the only things that makes both sides of the brain light up at the same time.
Very powerful, man. Very powerful stuff.
Why do you think they hide so much stuff in it? Because they're talking to both sides of your head.
That's right.
Not just one. So they're programming you on God knows how many levels. But yeah, I just thought that would be interesting. So anyway, Joe and I were talking about personal responsibility before the break.
Very foreign subject to a lot of people these days.
Well, you know, you say that to most people, Joe, and they're like, what's personal responsibility? And it starts small. You can't expect the country, okay? Look at the country as a organism, like a body. And we are, the people of the country are the little cells of the body. If these cells are not healthy and functioning properly, the body has no chance of functioning properly.
Popeye, I wish you would use a different term other than cell, because cell these days are now referred to.
Oh, I know now.
terrorists.
Well, cell means one of two things: either the place you'll be sitting because of your free speech, or or the dreaded T word.
That's right. So I would appreciate it if you didn't use that term anymore. Yeah.
Even though it's a scientific term. But, you know, hey, we don't want to piss Echelon off.
No, of course not. So right now their computer's like...
You said a keyword. Warning.
It's pretty bad. It's pretty bad when, you know, they'll be filming the next episode of Mr. Wizard and all of a sudden they jump through all the windows on the set and everything else, and the SWAT team goes and freaking puts his hand behind his back, all because he used the word cell. Yeah, that's right. Well, so be very careful, folks. But yeah, you're right. Getting back to personal responsibility, I'm sorry to...
No, yeah, it was good humor to interject because there is somewhat of a point to it, Joe. I mean, nowadays... That's the way, you know, pretty soon we're going to have the thought police running around. Did you just think that? Did you just think? Get on the ground. Get on the ground. You're a criminal.
Part of personal responsibility is, you know, being able to protect oneself. And, you know, one of the things that I find very disturbing is the fact that so many people rely on the government to protect them from themselves or from others. And you don't need that. That's the whole part of the Constitution, you know, Second Amendment, things like that. You don't need it.
If that's where I was going with that, the analogy is you can't, if the cells aren't healthy in a body, then the body itself isn't going to be healthy. So
exactly right.
If you don't take personal responsibility in your own life, how do you expect the country as a whole to? Because everybody else is doing the same thing you do. Remember, you ever hear the expression, what if everybody thought the way you did? You ever hear that? Like when you have an argument with somebody and they're like, wow, you know, you're like, well, we should help that person out. And they're like, oh, F them. I don't want to help them out. And you know, in rebuttal, you might say, well, what if everybody thought like you do? Well, how about we reach that point where everybody does think like that? I mean, You see people dropping dead, Joe, on Black Friday in Walmart, having a heart attack on the ground, people stepping right over him to get to the sale because, hey, they don't want to, you know, limited time for the 50% off, and with all these people in there, the stuff's going to go fast. So, that Xbox game is more important than helping that guy out. You know, way more important.
Oh, yeah, and by the way, with that, what's the name of that feature that Xbox has now? What is it, like Connect or something, where it scans the room and it basically sees, it gets a picture of you, it gets your biometric data, all that kind of stuff, and it pumps it back. Yeah,
after it came out, researchers showed these two guys took two of them, and it could have it would, and they affixed it to this like a mount so that it would have a 360 degree. Maybe it was 4 of them because they had to do it in all 4 directions. And when they spun it around, they were able to map an entire room completely, 360 degrees in 3D. That's creepy.
Yeah, it is creepy. But, this is, again, personal responsibility starts at the beginning, at the person. And the first thing that I think you have to do, and correct me if I'm wrong, is you have to change your mentality from being selfish to selfless. And a very good way of doing that is, especially for people with kids, anybody that knows that have had kids knows that that's like, if you're a responsible parent, that's like the first thing that clicks in the head is all of a sudden you go from thinking about yourself to thinking about those kids, and everything revolves around them. My mother taught me
personal responsibility at a very young age. Okay, when I was a kid, if like my brother got caught stealing from the store, and when he got caught stealing from the store, she took him back in and she made him admit to stealing and everything else, and then she made him pay for it. And it was candy or whatever it was. And I didn't get caught by her to the point where she made me go back to the store. I got caught by her once or twice, and rather than smack me or beat the crap out of me, she looked me right in the eyes and she said to me, "I'm very disappointed in you, and I thought a lot higher of you and a lot better of you. Now I look at you differently. And I'm going to tell you what, because I cared about the respect of my elder, because that's how I was raised, that had more effect on me than anything else." Okay? And there were a few times she had to put her, boot to my ass, but rarely did my mother ever have to. And when she did, she didn't F around. She just did it and, got it done. But she taught me personal responsibility.
Oh,
and
I'll be honest with you.
I've carried that on throughout my life. Dude, I don't like to admit when I'm wrong, but if I'm wrong, I'll admit that I'm wrong. This country doesn't want to admit that they're wrong. Iraq is a perfect example. Nobody wants to admit that we were wrong. Nobody. Our Congress, nobody. Politicians, people, the average jerk-off in the street. A lot of veterans will admit it now. But there's still a lot of people out there that are like, "Oh, we did the right thing." No, we didn't. It was illegal. Stop thinking we're spreading democracy. It was effing illegal. Okay?
Yeah.
George Bush has been found guilty of frigging war crimes. He's been, although it was in, I think, Kuala Lumpur, it doesn't matter.
Dude,
it's still on record in the legal system that he was found guilty of war crimes. So F him, he should be swinging. Somebody should unplug Dick Cheney, and Rumsfeld should be hung too.
And they should make a world holiday after that. I really truly believe they should replace like New Year's Day with being
an asshole day.
Exactly right. I'm all for that.
I'm sure Jimmy X would probably donate 24 hours of radio to celebrate it and do live coverage of the event. You know what I mean?
Absolutely, dude.
And people are like, "Oh, we have to be more evolved." No, first we need to clean house.
That's right.
If your house is full of vermin, what do? Do you sit down and try to have a conversation with the vermin? No.
No. And these people have declared war on us. So that and folks, war is a very serious thing.
We're well beyond the maybe we could sit down and work this out over coffee phase.
Right. But and Ken just put December 15, 2011, the day America died, and he's referring, of course, to the NDAA, National Defense Authorization Act. But I would challenge you to say that no, it was actually September 11, 2001.
No, I would say it was back in like the late 1800s when the Corporation of the United States was invented. And we lost the United States of America. That's when the country really started to die. But I would agree, everything else has been like another stab.
But, like the police state really started to usher itself in and around like after September 11 with the Patriot Act and things like that. So, but, I was thinking back, how you said your mom was the one that kind of instilled that personal responsibility in you? Well, I mean, to an extent it was my parents, but it really wasn't. I think my wife had the most sway and influence in personal responsibilities. So I got to give a shout out to her.
I would have to say my mother and my father, even though my parents got divorced, they both instilled a sense of personal responsibility in me. So it's not that hard, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to break. We will be right back. This is perfect music, ladies and gentlemen, for our fireside chat tonight. Joe Joseph and I are sitting in 2 high-back chairs next to a fireplace with
our smoking
beer.
Jackets on.
Yeah, with our red smoking jackets on, perhaps a cigar and a beer in our hands. And we're chatting with you. And we're trying to instill a little bit of maybe some ethics, I guess you could call it, in you. Personal ethics. That's how we're going to fix this. The government is just a macrocosm of the problems that we have within ourselves. And you can look at yourself and you can realize that the inner turmoil in everybody, because it's a mass hysteria, because everybody puts off this signal that allows this to go on. Now, these social engineers, they understand this and they understand us being humans and how we actually operate way better than, obviously, the general public. That, after all, is part of their little hidden knowledge, okay? That's how they control everybody. And if you understand at a base level what you need to do to better yourself, that will in turn better everything overall, and they understand this, and that's why they pump your heads full of crap with Lady Gaga and desensitizing the children and, sexualizing kids. When I was a kid, you didn't see a chick in a bikini on TV unless you were lucky, okay? You hoped you could maybe catch some, side of a thigh. Now, chicks are running around in G-strings and their nipples are popping out and stuff. And, you got girls emulating Lady Gaga. I mean, Madonna was controversial when I was a kid, and Gaga makes her look like an old maid.
Bro, at 8 o'clock, I think it was the Nashville Network or Country, whatever, just one of those networks. At 8 o'clock, they had a commercial for a sex hotline on there, like all night sex chat. Really? I mean, it's one of the bigger cable networks, What the hell?
We get the dating ones. They're big down here because, when I lived in Miami, where I live now, I moved to a different county, so it'll be a little more relaxed here. But in Miami, it was always, 24-hour. Half the commercials were for the Hustler store or Hustler TV or, dating. Are you alone? Two bimbos all dressed up with makeup on in like F me pumps. The 6-inch stiletto heels,
yeah,
and they're sitting there. Are you sitting home on a Friday night like me? And I'd look at my wife and she'd start laughing and she's like, yeah, like either one of those whores is home right now. You know what I mean? That's not. First of all, that's not the chick you're talking to. It's probably some 300-pound chick ironing her clothes. Wow, yeah. with a phone sex voice. That's what we used to call it. You got to be careful. Yeah, because if the girl's got a hot voice over the phone, a lot of times she was ugly in person. Yeah. Hey, this is Betty, and the guy's like, "Oh my God, she sounds so hot." You meet her, she's like 300 pounds and a mustache and a mullet. So people need to. I understand, guys. I lived in Miami. I lived on South Beach for years. It get to the point where I could, spin around in a circle and throw a rock in any general direction and hit an uber hot chick. I used to be a body piercer and I used to run a tattoo shop. Girls used to pay me for me to make them get naked. Okay, so it's not like I'm a prude or anything like that. But there comes a point when there shouldn't be things. The internet already makes things accessible. So
right.
the TV, if in a perfect world, in a perfect world, TV wouldn't exist because it's only for programming anyway. So that's why they're putting it. I guess that's where I'm going with this. That's why they're doing it. They're pumping that crap.
Right.
To desensitize the children and to sexualize them at an earlier age, and that's all part of this. Because if you can make the cells sick and this, nasty and not functioning properly on the inside, the body as a whole, again, will not be functioning properly and is much easier to take over. And that's what these jerk-offs are doing. And people need to stop pussyfooting around and, I can't talk about this. Or, you said jerk off. That offends me. We have to stop being pussies. Okay, seriously. We're not going to fix anything until we all stop being a bunch of pussies. I'm not a pussy, but there's a lot of people out there that will even get offended because I use the word pussy. Get over it. You know what I mean?
You notice
we need
how
to go back to having our balls.
You notice how sue happy everybody is? You're right. It's like, oh, my feelings are hurt. I'm going to sue you. And
freedom of speech. That's why growing up, Joe, that's why I loved the First Amendment, because I used to wear T-shirts that would purposely offend people to see their reactions, and then people would say things to me like, that offends me, and I would say, well, that's nice, but thanks to the First Amendment, I can say whatever the hell I want. So. And I would walk away. And I mean, shirts like, big middle finger or whatever, F you effing F is one of my favorites. Something like that. And I would just walk around or like I had a shirt filled with like Michael Jackson jokes on it, from back in the day. Just horrendous, horrific jokes. But I thought they were hysterically funny. And it was just a joke. It's just laughter. It's just humor. Sometimes you can look at darker things when you do see it so much. When I was a fireman, there were times that we would have to make little jokes in between amongst ourselves. Right. That's how you deal with things. You know what I'm talking about. You were in the Navy. Military is the same way, dude. You see some really effed up things. Sometimes you have to make a joke about it in order to deal with it, right?
Absolutely.
Doesn't mean you really are like, woohoo!
Right, but I mean, all this kind of leads to the pussification of males too, because that's what's going on. Like, for example, my homeschool co-op, I teach phys ed, and for the high school kids, they're playing tackle football with no pads, with no nothing like that. Why? Because it toughens them up. Are we afraid that somebody's going to break their leg or get hurt? Guess what? It's part of the territory. Take it like a man. I mean, even the girls are playing. Or just toughen up. No big deal. You're going to get hurt. There's some times when you're going to get hurt. Shake it off and get back to work.
That's what my parents taught me. Like the first time I fell down and I got, I scraped my knee, my mother didn't want me to grow up to be a wussy. And I cried, and I was told this story. This is one of the first times I was running around, or I'm sure, I would get hurt. I would smash into stuff. Sometimes I would cry, but most of the time she said I would just get back up and keep running around. I'd dust myself off and do whatever, go back to running around. But like one time I fell down, and she told me, I sat there and cried, and I guess maybe I was trying to get attention. I was probably like 4 years old, maybe 3 or 4 years old. And she said, no, don't cry. Because when it first happened, you weren't crying, and then you looked at me, and then you looked at it, and then you looked up at me again. You started crying. None of that crap. Man up. Something to that effect. I don't remember exactly how she put it. This is 30-something years ago. But the point is, my mom didn't coddle me. She wasn't mean to me in any way, shape, or form. My mother loved me and my brother very much, and she took very good care of us. But she wasn't one of these moms that is, coddles their children. I have a friend of mine who his wife does that to her son, and he's a couple years old now, and he's kind of a little pussy, and even he acknowledges that. So he's trying to toughen him up, because he's like, he's not going to make it. He's got to be tougher, And it's nothing against, it's not being mean to the kid, but that's what you have to do. Dude, you fall down through life, bad things happen to you. If your parents don't teach you that when you scrape your knee as a kid, that you'll get through it and life will go on, you have to, sometimes grin and bear it, the kid's not going to be prepared for when bad things happen when he's in his 30s. They won't know what to do, and that's what's happening now. Because all these kids were put in the freaking corner for timeout for 5 minutes. It's ridiculous. Again, this goes back to personal responsibility, which I want to get into more in hour number 2. So we're going to the top of the hour break, ladies and gentlemen. Enjoy the rest of the
musical interlude, if you will.
Yes, provided by Jimmy X. Joe and myself will be back in a few minutes.
Absolutely.
So stay tuned for hour number dos. We'll be right back. Ladies and gentlemen, we are back. Hour number 2. This is Down the Rabbit Hole. I'm your host, Popeye from federaljack.com. I'm hanging out with my good buddy, Joe Joseph.
Oh, gosh.
The man with 2 first names.
That's right.
You know, I have to ask this question really quick. Some people have an issue with my nickname.
Why?
And I've explained on air that I know why, right? But I've explained on air that it's a nickname I've had for probably around 20 years now. More people know me by my nickname than by my real name. So it was just something I've come to use over the course of time, through the years.
Right.
And big deal. Some people have a made-up radio name. I guess mine wasn't made up for radio, but how come there can be Cher or Madonna or whatever one-name star, musical stars, and that's acceptable? But some people actually have an issue with me using my nickname. And others could care less. It's amazing. It's just
a lot of people in this, for example, like the YouTube community, or you don't really see it too much on the radio side of the house, but primarily on YouTube, you have a bunch of people that say they're for certain things, but really, they really don't use their brains. They say they're awake, they're still asleep, and those are the people like that don't respect your want to either have a little bit of privacy and not use your real name, or the fact that you're just using a nickname because that's what you want to do. But when it all comes down to it, man, it's your show, it's your YouTube channel, and you can do whatever you want to do with that because, hey, it's yours. And if they don't like it, they can go listen to somebody else. It's not a big deal. This is the stuff that we're putting out, folks, isn't for popularity. We're not out to be a big popularity contest. We really have no ego. We have no ego to bruise.
If I was in this for my ego, don't you think I'd be using my real name, trying to run around, pat myself on the back?
That's right.
I try to make this as least about me as possible because it's not about me. And it is about the message.
You hear certain radio hosts out there that say, "Oh, well, we gave this to you first, and we reported on this first, and look at how accurate we are here, and this and that." Those people that go out and have to point that out to you are doing that to pump themselves up. It's like patting themselves on the back.
Yeah, well, it's like my mother. My mother taught me when I was young. I forget how the conversation arose, but she said to me that when you hear people walking around bragging about stuff and saying, "Look what I did, I do this, I have this," or this is, like my dick is, we'll say, just for guys, to get into a guy's head so he understands. A guy walks around the locker room, "I have a 10-inch dick, I have a 10-inch dick, I have a 10-inch dick." The guy's dick's probably like 4 inches long, okay? And he's doing that to overcompensate. Mm-hmm. Usually people that brag really don't. You know what I'm saying? Like a black belt isn't going to walk around being like, "I kick, 10 people's asses a day. I'm Bruce Lee." Right. What? They don't do that. The black belt is the guy that you don't, they look nerdy and you F with him and he sticks your arm up your ass.
You have no idea that he's a black belt because
that's what makes him a true black belt.
That's right, because you give away a tactical advantage. I mean, think about it. If they knew you're a black belt, well, then they know how to prepare or do something perhaps against you. But if they don't, then they don't know what's coming. They don't know what's going to hit them. So the smart person isn't going to play their hand like that. Like, for example, you see a lot of people on YouTube that go and show all their guns. "Oh, I got this gun. I do this." They're all on there with their guns.
Dude,
you'll never ever see me show a firearm on YouTube.
Me when I was a little kid. because he taught me about guns because he had guns in my house growing up. You know, so he taught me right off the bat about guns. And you know what? I came. Oh, excuse me. My throat's dry. I can't breathe. Sorry about that. I came across them in my journeys through my parents' what do you call it? Their closets, their nightstands, wherever kids go through. You know, we don't do that. We do that. Okay? And, you know, you find your father's porn stash or whatever. I came across my father's guns in his drawers. I didn't screw with them. Never touched them. I was convinced, first of all, that he would know that my fingerprints were on them. He had me convinced that he had some stuff on the guns that he would be able to tell if I touched them. Okay, smart man. Okay, but he let me touch them when he was around. He showed them to me. He didn't, you know, oh, no, stay away from the guns. They're bad. They hurt you. He exposed me to them. He also told me if I screw with them, I could hurt myself or kill somebody or kill myself or whatever. So, you know, there was this, it wasn't, oh, you know what I mean? It wasn't over the top. He wasn't one of these fathers that's like, oh, you got to jump through, you know, run through the forest and, you know, take position and everything. No, he wasn't, you know, it wasn't militant or anything. But he taught me the Second Amendment. He taught me respect for weapons so that when I was going through the house, as I did, and when I found the guns, I would, you know, I was more
right.
apt to play with my dad's porn than I was his gun because I wanted to be able to, you know, if he found out about the porn, not really a big deal, but I didn't want to screw with the gun because it was a no-no thing and I was only supposed to touch them around him and I didn't want to lose it. The biggest thing to me was I didn't want to lose the ability to, what do you call it? Play with the. No, I don't want to say play with them because that sounds horrible. Well, I guess you know how in like guy speak to play with them or sit and touch them. You know, my father would take them out and show them to us, and of course he would have them unloaded. He wouldn't hand us a loaded firearm. You know, he took us to gun shows and stuff when I was a kid, but I understood them. Again, personal responsibility.
Well, that's just it.
To teach his child about guns.
Right, and because of that, you take away that destructive curiosity that all too often kills kids.
You have guns and children. Pontificate. I need to get a glass of water because my throat is uber dry. So go ahead.
That's fine. I mean, it's all about just introducing them the right way. If you do that, then they're not so uber curious. The earlier you introduce them to these types of things, the less of a problem you're going to have, you know. But case in point, we as a society have lost our way when it comes to personal responsibility. You know, we rely on the public school to raise our children now. A lot of people, instead of the parents doing it themselves. Why? Well, either you have the breakdown of the family structure, which is, if you look at the latest statistic, 51% of American families are together still. So 49% are divorced. And because of the breakdown in the family structure, of course, you don't have the children getting that necessary knowledge that they need to become productive human beings as they become adults, you know? So you don't have that. And now you rely on the public school to...
Things like changing a tire, Joe.
Yeah, of course, you know.
Which I rag on all the time because there's so many grown-ass men that can't even change a tire.
My 15-year-old boy the other day he knows how to change a tire, but I taught him the other day how to plug a tire, you know, because like one thing that I always keep on me at all times is I have a air compressor that plugs into the cigarette lighter, and then I have a plug kit. And I told him, I said, look, if you have this, you don't have to change the tire. You just pull over to the side of the road, you find out where the nail is, you pull it out, you plug it, you fill it up with air, and you drive on down the road. It's that simple. And he's like, wow, I had no idea. Yeah. And they charge you $20 at the service station for this.
Dude, it amazes me what people don't know compared to what they knew when I was a kid.
Oh,
what I was taught. It's 180 degrees. Again, personal accountability.
That's it.
See? Very simple concept, ladies and gentlemen. Touches on everything. We'll be right back. We are back, ladies and gentlemen. Jimmy X has hijacked my bumpers for the rest of the evening.
Usurped. Usurped is the word.
Yes, usurped. I don't want to say hijacked because I like the music, so.
Yeah.
He has good taste in music.
The computers are going off, red lights flashing. You said hijacked.
I said the wrong word again. It's twice tonight.
Oh, dude, sell and hijack. You are just batting 1,000 tonight.
3 times and they put a Predator drone over your house with a Hellfire.
They got
it's
the
not
GPS
too far off. I mean,
to your
they're already
front door.
watching us, right? And they have
Yes,
the
they
Jeep.
are.
Well, not my front door because I moved recently.
Wiener. They have all that stuff. And
Yeah,
unfortunately...
well, why do they need the GPS coordinates to your house, Joe? Oh, wait a minute. Remember when people said, because they're going to fly drones over, and people were like, oh, please. Well, apparently those people might have been right.
It's happening, man. And what? And the one that of course, the one they're publicizing right now is the fact that they were flying Predator drones over cow farmers because somebody allegedly stole 6 cows. Really?
That
So we
justifies using a multi-million dollar
$158 million.
No, that's just for the UAV,
Just
not
for the
Not
UAV.
to mention the electricity, the operator, the training man. The training hours, the whatever if it's fueled with.
But they did save money. They did save money, and I'm going to tell you where they saved it. They didn't go get a warrant.
Oh well, hey, that $3.50 it would have cost in gas to get the warrant.
So, and the judge didn't have to come in to issue it.
Hey, it saved the judge time.
That's
why
right.
not? I mean, why not? One of the news anchors on CNN was like, well, I don't know what news anchor. Listen to me. I give them too much credit. I should say moron with a teleprompter. Okay. And she was like, well, I don't see a problem with them using the drones inside. What's the big deal? Police have helicopters, right? Yeah, a helicopter can't stay aloft for 22 hours. It doesn't have a targeting system in it. But don't mind that. It's okay to have drones and stuff. Well, I would feel safer if we had drones. We should use more drones. So why don't we just put missiles on them? Why don't we put lasers on them too? I mean, where do we stop?
Well, it's not going to stop. As a matter of fact, they went on to say, Russia Today did a piece on this, and they went on to say that, municipalities are chomping at the bit to get this drone technology. And, right now they have them the size of birds and even down to the size of insects. And once they become more affordable, I mean, can you imagine the police departments having insect-size drones to go and look in? I mean, they could fly into your house. You never know it. You'd never know if it's a drone or not. People are going to go batshit crazy, man. Just, oh shit, that's a drone. It's going to be the worst paranoia.
And dude, people think that it won't happen. It won't get down to that level if we don't clamp down on this crap now. Think about this. When I was dealing with the North Miami Beach City Council when we were educating them about fluoride and 9/11 and mainly fluoride, and we would go and we'd speak in front of the city council and stuff. The mayor at one meeting wanted to put in, and that somehow somebody had half a brain on the city council, and they brought up the legality of it. But he wanted to have he called it a whistleblower hotline, but it wasn't a whistleblower hotline. He wanted a little rat line, a little like a bat phone to his office where anybody could call in the community and rat somebody out.
Right. See something, say something.
Something like that. He wanted his own little version of it. So if you look at that kind of corruption and you look at how that, this dirtbag mayor who is now voted out, but if you see how this guy wanted to abuse just having his own, rat line that I call that, what happens when that guy has the ability to now put a drone over your house? You don't think he'll do it against people that bitch about him in town? Yeah, okay.
It used to be that if you ratted somebody out, you were a real jerk. I mean, that was frowned upon. You know? You didn't want to be the rat. You don't want to be the guy that tells on somebody, if you know what I mean. And again, it's one of those things in society, man. There are times when you should. For example, Penn State, right? Anytime you catch somebody dealing with children, you need to take care of that because children can't defend themselves.
Well, that's different.
Of course.
But when you're talking about your neighbors, if you're snitches get stitches, dude. That's how I grew up.
That was it. That was the saying.
Snitches get stitches. Okay, you start running your mouth and being a little bitch, you're gonna get yours. Okay, you can run and be a little bitch all you want, but eventually, you're gonna get it. Okay,
that's right.
And usually when you least expect it. So that's cool. That's how I was raised. So, I mean, it's different, though. If you see somebody abusing a kid, don't run to the police. The cops aren't there. Look, I had cops in South Beach when I ran a tattoo shop down there. They told me flat out, because we used to call them at first. And they said, don't bother calling us because it's going to, we don't want to come and deal with it. We usually let people fight, whatever. So if it's a real problem, just deal with it and then call us to clean it up afterwards, Just basically kick their asses and leave them in the alleyway on the side of the shop. And call us. So that's exactly what we did. Every time. Okay? The cops, they admitted to us that they're not going to come and save us. So, okay, cool. As long as we've had this conversation and it's on record. Awesome.
Isn't that interesting? Isn't that interesting that, on a lot of cars it used to say to protect and serve. Serve being the one thing, but.
Well, both of them are gone.
Yeah, because they don't do that
protect
anymore.
And serve is gone. The only one I've seen is I've seen it replaced with like professionalism, excellence, and some other horse crap.
You know what they should put on there? In all honesty, every police car in America should have that saying: "Slavery gets shit done." Because that's what they act like. They act like slave masters.
They should actually just put "sell out."
Yeah,
on the side of the car.
Absolutely, dude. I mean, and there are good cops out there that think they're doing a good job. They're just sadly misinformed.
Police officers out there, but unfortunately, the bad way the good now. It used to be
it's awful,
but it's gone. We are through the looking glass. Okay, the original Lewis Carroll book that spawned Alice in Wonderland. We are through the looking glass, and we are in the backwards, topsy-turvy world. Black is white. Up is down, right is wrong. It's crazy. This isn't the country I grew up in at all, and I don't understand how people, can't get with it and be like, wow, this is effed up.
Well, because we've got generations of programming that we have to
Oh, no, I know. I
undo.
I understand it on a level, but, part of me is like, you need to get mad. God damn it. I don't want to scream too loud and wake my poor neighbors, but yeah. If you want to get really pissed off and say, I've had enough of this, this is ridiculous. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to break. We'll be right back. Ladies and gentlemen, we are back. Jimmy X running my bumpers. It's kind of an honor to have him sitting in the background picking at my bumper music.
I mean,
cool.
to have the Supreme Allied Commander, Orion Talk Radio, going and personally running your bumpers for you. I mean, that's something.
That's pretty neat.
Hey, I want to put something out before the midnight hour comes. For anybody that doesn't know, Ron Paul is running a money bomb today, and it's important to get out there and support him any way that you can. Now, you don't necessarily have to donate. As a matter of fact, he's got a store. I just got my Ron Paul long sleeve T-shirt in the mail today. Because, like I said, there's many ways you can do it. I like to do that because I can wear it and people ask me questions and, I get the bumper stickers and I get honks and all that kind of stuff. But it's time to really ratchet this up. The mainstream media is pissed. They are seething with rage. And if you didn't see that Chris Wallace interview or the Sean Hannity interview
Chris
with
Wallace
Ron Paul,
is a joke. That guy's
he's a joke.
Tool.
He's a
They're all a
douchebag,
joke, dude. They're all a joke. I'm Chris Wallace. That's great. I could give two shits to who you are.
are an ass clown.
Yeah, you're an ass clown, and so's Hannity. And we would eat you. First of all, the level of reporting that we've already done, just between the two of us alone, has already surpassed you guys. And
Oh, yeah.
O'Reilly used to be on that tabloid show. What the hell was it? Extra?
No. It was, oh, geez, yeah. We'll do it live.
Yeah, I forget what the hell what the name was.
I'll remember. Don't say it. We'll go to, and I'll remember it.
Some tabloid BS show.
It was awful.
He's a jerk off. I mean,
He's got
there's no polite way to say it, and I'm tired of being polite about it. You know, I say what's on everybody's mind.
Bob
Inside Edition. Thank you, Bob. Inside Edition. That was it. We'll do it live. We'll do it live. That guy was such an was. What am I saying? Is such an ass hat.
I have a request. If we're going to do a steel cage match with
who do you want to punch?
it's not so much that. But we need a manager. And I say Bob Tuscan would be a great manager for us. For our
if we're gonna do it WW like E Star or when I was a kid, WWF.
Yeah, that's right. So I think Bob needs to be our manager.
Yeah, like that guy. Oh, what was his name? The skinny dude with the glasses, and he had the big crazy afro mullet.
Jim Neanville, or what was it?
He was
the Heart
guy,
Foundation.
Yeah, he was the skinny dude that hung out with the Hearts. Then he went on to other people. He wore the long jackets.
Yeah, with the megaphone.
Mm-hmm.
That was him.
Yeah, that's our Bob Tuscan right there. That's our buddy Bob.
Do you see what he said? Do you see what he says? He says, "Is it because I'm a Jew? Is this why we're doing this?"
No,
Bob,
it's because
what does Judaism have to do with this,
Bob? It's because you are a character, my friend.
That's it. It's the hair.
Yes, well, just and his attitude. He's a complete character, so we need him to. We would need him as the manager. He would fit right in. If we're going to go in there and have it, especially if it's going to be a steel cage match against those two assholes.
Oh, I hate Chris Wallace with a passion, and I hate Sean Hannity.
He can be Hannity and O'Reilly's manager. Bob can beat up him.
Oh, that would be awesome.
Polish his ass. You know how the managers sometimes would screw each other and hit each other with chairs and stuff? This is classic WF, not this crap they have now. I'm talking about the stuff I grew up with. You know what I'm talking about. That would be Bob. He can go run around and beat the crap out of Chris Wallace.
I miss that, man. That's the one thing. Again, it's just it's all soap opera now. And I mean, it was back in our day too. Well, I remember when back then, but it's like WrestleMania 3 when you had the Iron Sheik and you had all those,
That's a good example,
Roddy
Joe,
Piper.
That's a good example of how the mentality of the people has changed.
Oh man, now it's look at it.
Look where they have to go with it to keep people interested, as opposed to when we were. It was just there was some bad guy, good guy stuff, but it was wrestling. They actually. I mean, I know it's fake, but they actually caused more injuries when I was a kid. Like I remember watching a match where Andre the Giant put Jimmy Superfly Snuka in a hospital because he smashed his head in with a chair. Pretty bad, So, and I where I grew up, Snuka had a wrestling school not too far from where I grew up, and you got to talk to him in person. If anybody's ever heard Opie and Anthony, okay, they used to he was on once or twice, and they used to call him on the phone, and he can't even get a sound, even though he's alive anymore. But he couldn't get a sentence out. He'd be like, and it's because he was getting hit in the head with the chair so many friggin' times.
Yeah, Dane Bramage.
Oh yeah, heavily, dude. That stuff. Well, again, it just goes to show. And I'm not saying that stuff was any better for children back when we were kids, but
no, but it's changed.
Levels they have to change.
Popeye, think about this. Action heroes. Who are your action heroes today?
It's a good question. I don't why. I'm assuming they still have Spider-Man and Superman and all that, but I'm
I
sure
don't know. But do you notice they're like pissant little freaking boys and all that?
The leading men in movies. I've talked about this. The leading men in movies are all they're wafy little British guys that are vampire. I'm a vampire.
Yeah, and they're freaking probably they're that's right. They're going cowboys. They're feminists. They're vampires, just like you said. But we had like
Joe.
We had like Stallone and Dolph Lundgren and she's Jesse the Body sometimes.
We had Bruce Willis, and he still had a little bit of hair when I was a kid.
Yeah.
We had guys that were tough. Nowadays it's, hey, I'm a wafy vampire.
Yeah.
Come here, be afraid.
Come and bang me, I took ass. I mean, because that's what it's all about. They're just all a vampire.
When I was a kid, you put a stake through his heart and you cut his head off and then exposed what was left to the sunlight and called it a day.
Now they praise the vampire. What's up with that?
Well, there's deeper meaning to it. I'm sure people. There's even deeper meaning to where the whole myth of the vampire comes from. But
are you going to get all Aleister Crowley on me?
No, I'll save that for another show because I would actually entail an entire show to do it. And
that's some pretty deep stuff, man.
I
crazy.
have to get Mark on with me so him and I can sit and converse about it. Because that's how I have some of the most insightful shows about that kind of stuff. So I'll have Mark come on. He's if you guys don't, when you listen to my show on Sundays, Mark's on at the same time over on Oracle. So when you get a chance, rip his archives and check it out.
You have him in one ear and then you in the other. That should really give you the truth. I mean, that's like hardcore. Raw.
Well, I'm going to have him on the show again soon. He's coming on. Mark's a good friend of mine, and he's full of knowledge, but he's really a good individual. And I mean, he's a personal friend of mine, so I'm honored to consider him a friend. He's a real cool guy. But if I get into the meaning of all that crap, I'll have to have him on because that way he can. Because I know a lot about it, but he knows, compared to what he knows, it makes me, look like at least on this subject, it makes it look like a joke. It's ridiculous. It's like, the difference between an encyclopedia and a little pad. I have the knowledge I have on this, especially esoterically would be like, on the pad, and him, it's like, bring in Mark's knowledge, and 60-foot high encyclopedia, and he's just super smart. So, but getting back to the whole pussification thing, that's why that's another reason for it is they're trying to instill into girls' heads basically that they want these pussy little wafy skinny, that's how their husband or man is supposed to be, and
right.
That's not, and what ends up happening is the chick usually ends up cheating on the husband, and usually ends up, if the guy's metrosexual or whatever you want to call him or like that, the chick usually ends up cheating on him with a guy that's a mechanic or a security guard or something a little more manly than being that. So it's not really working. You know what I'm saying? Not really working.
I know what you're saying.
Not at all. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be back in a few minutes. So stay tuned for the final segment of tonight's edition of Down the Rabbit Hole with me and my buddy, Joe Joseph, the man with two first names.
Don't you forget it.
We are back, ladies and gentlemen. This is the final segment of this Friday edition, December 16th, 2011, of Down the Rabbit Hole. And tonight, if you take anything away from this broadcast, it would be two things I want you to take away. Personal accountability, being responsible, and being accountable for your actions.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to say personal responsibility, because responsibility, you can have responsibility without being accountable for your own actions, okay? And still be a little, people have responsibilities and they're still lying little sacks of crap. So it's accountability, being accountable for your actions, okay? If we do that, okay, then if we can all do that in our personal lives And I'm not saying it'll be magical, but you'll notice a difference, and then more and more people will start to expect that their politicians do the same thing, that their elected officials do the same thing, that their boss, that their loved ones, their friends, and other people around them do the same thing. It'll just happen naturally, okay? So if you take anything away from tonight's broadcast, it would be personal accountability, and the other thing would be to stop being a bunch of pussies. And I'm not saying that anybody listening is, I'm not calling the listeners pussies. I'm saying if anybody is offended or, gets...
Just in general. In general, right.
About anything, or in general, we need to stop. Even the country as a whole needs to stop being a bunch of pussies.
Yeah.
It really, we need the whole country needs to stop running around going, Popeye said the word pussy, my ears are hurting. No, stop it.
No.
You're going to hear some more. Look, the reason I say that is because when you dive into what's going on, and eventually once you see what's going on, it gets so disgusting that me saying the word pussy isn't going to offend you anymore, okay?
Exactly.
So it's like boot camp. I'm just trying to prepare you for what you're going to find out and what you're going to experience in battle. And there is a battle, whether it be, whether these asshats try to make it a physical one, but right now it's a battle like what's his name, Alfred Adask says. It's a battle of spirituality, and when you start to see the evil stuff that these guys do, the sacrifice, the sexual abuse of children, and all this stuff. And, I mean, you're seeing some of the darkest stuff that there is to offer, and you will come across some of the darkest individuals. That's so right. If you hearing me say the word pussy offends you, okay, in reference to someone being a wimp, okay, then you need to buck up and soldier the F up, because it gets way worse than that. Okay, and that's what I mean. So I'm not calling anybody I'm not saying that the listeners are all a bunch of wimps or anything, but for anybody that may hear this broadcast in the future, or for the new listeners or whatever, it's time this country, we all need to buck up and go, we need to be a little tougher. What say you, Joe?
No, you're absolutely right. I'm discouraged and encouraged at the same time by what I see going on in the country right now, but the thing that people have to understand is these people, the people in power, are non-representing representatives, are bureaucrats. They're waging war in our name. They are waging war against other countries, other sovereign nations, and they're waging war against us. And you have to be tough enough to stand up and fight this without being afraid for your family, or they're going to kill me or anything else. No. They're afraid right now. They're afraid of you, because they know that if you wake up, that if you realize once and for all that you and this country, we the people, have the power, then we've just taken it right away from them. And there's nothing that they can throw at us.
There's nothing
that's powerful enough to defeat us.
There's nothing to fear but fear itself. Okay?
It's a very powerful instrument.
Exactly. And I've recited the litany against fear on the show multiple times. Okay? People need to understand that fear and the universe, if you dive into quantum physics, you'll run into this. And even if you're somebody that really dives into David Icke's research and that whole end of things, you'll run into the same thing as well. So it's interesting how paths cross. But everything operates, basically, the universe operates, everything operates on a vibrational function, or function on a vibrational frequency. And there's two base frequencies, fear or love. And love is this high-pitched frequency, and fear is this low woo type frequency, like this low wave. And that's the kind of frequency they constantly put out through television and movies, and media itself does it. Television and movies is a big way. They portray stuff in movies that 20, 30 years ago they never would have put in the movies. I mean, Saw, something like that coming out to the 1 through 80. Again, that's how you know it's crap because they've ruined it. Okay,
Yeah.
But those movies, even Friday the 13th and stuff, they were kind of gory, but they weren't as gory as these movies are today. And the level of stuff that they show you, it's because it's ramping up the I'm going to screw this word up. The I can't say it. They're desensitizing the people. For some reason, I can't pronounce the word tonight. You know what I mean? Anyway, I knew it wasn't going to come out of my mouth. I'm like, my mouth isn't operating on 100% today for some reason. I don't know why, but I can't get the word out. Anyway, you know what I mean? They're desensitizing everybody, and they're doing it because they're ramping it up because they understand that as a whole, the awakening is happening. It's not the end of the world. I don't believe the end of the world is going to happen in 2012. I believe that's going to be like the tipping point where more and more people start to wake up. I don't believe that like one day in 2012 people are going to wake up and be like the whole world's going to be like, oh, holy shit, the New World Order. I don't believe that either. But I believe that's going to be it's like the fulcrum. I believe that's the tipping point. That's where it's going to start to. It's where it's going to start to go in the opposite direction. I think that this is just my view from analyzing everything that's been going on and being in this for so long now. It's like they're afraid of that and they understand what's coming, so they're trying to get prepared ahead of time. And besides, they're already doing half this stuff, Joe. They're already detaining people indefinitely, even after they've been found. They're just doing it to make it legal. You realize that, right? They're just covering their asses. They're already doing this. They're just, now it's, hey, we did it. Now we have to make it legal retroactively so we don't get in trouble for it.
I mean, why do you think all these elitists have those like rituals over at Bohemian Grove and everything else? They're evil. It's evil. They're demonic. And the thing is they do have a limited amount of time left. Their time is not finite. They're running out of it, and they're having to ratchet up the game here a little bit because time's running out. So guess what? If you guys think it's going to go back to the way it was, you're sadly mistaken. You're never going to see life the way it was. Life as we know it is changing and changing for good. And
we're evolving. It's just we have a choice. Cooper used to talk about that.
Oh.
Eventually, we're going to have a choice whether we're going to have a paradise type existence or a prison planet. But it's going to come to a head where we have to choose one or the other. We can't just be apathetic. And before we run out of time, I'll recite the litany against fear really quick because it's really short and fast. Okay, so remember this. Repeat this over and over and over again. Okay, I must not fear. Fear is the mind killer. Fear is the little death that brings total obliteration. I will face my fear. I will permit it to pass over me and through me. And when it has gone past, I will turn the inner eye to see its path. Where the fear has gone, there will be nothing. Only I will remain. So F fear, ladies and gentlemen. Stand up. Get some balls. And it's time to take our country back and start prosecuting these bastards. You want to see these Wall Street jerk-offs prosecuted? Don't wait for the scumbag politicians to do it. Let's start doing it ourselves, ladies and gentlemen.
Amen, brother.
Build our own commissions to do it. Tired of this crap. Joe, thanks for hanging out, dude.
Thanks for having me.
Dude, it's always a pleasure. Ladies and gentlemen, I'll be back Sunday, and after my show Sunday, Joe will be on live as well. We'll see you then. Be some douchebag that's brainwashed and doesn't want to hear the truth, which there are those people you have to watch out for.
Right. Let me explain something to people. If you're going to get a death threat, it's not coming from the government or anything like that. If they want you dead, you're going to die. You'll be dead. They'll come by in the dark of night, black baggy, gone. You see you later. You're not going to get a death threat. I'm sorry. That's probably some shill troll.
Probably some troll douchebag. Either the guy's a troll or he's whatever. But I figure I'd put it out there to just to cover him just in case. You never know. So Rob's a friend of mine, and I like to look out for my friends. So and he's a good guy.
Absolutely.
Busts his ass. So let's give Pigmine Rob a round of applause, a little golf clap. Little golf clap from me. That's for you, Rob. All right, my squeaky chair in the background. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, I still don't have the studio 100%. I'm about 90%. Joe saw a video of it today. It looks pretty good, right, Joe?
Yeah, it's not bad, man. I mean, it's coming together. Yeah. I'm actually kind of impressed. The big thing that, it's like anytime you move, you get a good opportunity to weed through all the crap that you've amassed.
I love throwing things out. I actually like giving stuff away. I gave a bunch of stuff away today. In fact, it was funny. I brought it downstairs by the elevators in my old complex. And before I could get upstairs to my apartment, well, in between, I should say, the time of me putting it downstairs and going upstairs to get a piece of paper and a pen to write free on and come back down, which took me a minute and a half, 2 minutes, it all disappeared.
Either we heal as a team, or we're going to crumble. Inch by inch, play by play, till we're finished. We're in hell right now, gentlemen, believe me. And we can stay here, get the shit kicked out of us, or we can fight our way back into the light. We can climb out of hell. 1 inch at a time. You know, when you get old in life, things get taken from you. I mean, that's part of life. But you only learn that when you start losing stuff. You find out life's this game of inches. So is football. Because in either game, life or football, the margin for error is so small. I mean, 1/2 a step too late or too early, and you don't quite make it. 1/2 second too slow, too fast, you don't quite catch it. The inches we need are everywhere around us. They're in every break of the game, every minute, every second. On this team, we fight for that inch. On this team, we tear ourselves and everyone else around us to pieces for that inch. We claw our fingernails for that inch. Because we know when we add up all those inches, that's going to make the fucking difference between winning and losing. Between living and dying. I'll tell you this, in any fight, it's the guy who's willing to die who's going to win that inch. And I know if I'm going to have any life anymore, it's because I'm still willing to fight and die for that inch. Because that's what living is. There's 6 inches in front of your face. Now, I can't make you do it. You got to look at the guy next to you. Look into his eyes. Now, I think you're going to see a guy who will go that inch with you. You're going to see a guy who will sacrifice himself for this team because he knows when it comes down to it, you're going to do the same for him. That's a team, gentlemen. And either we heal now as a team, or we will die as individuals.
Ideas are bulletproof.
Welcome, one and all. It is Friday, December 16th, 2011. This is Down the Rabbit Hole. I'm your host, Popeye from FederalJack.com, and I'm a little pissed off today. Not too happy with what's going on in the world and the apathy of the average putz walking around in the street. And to join me in my rage tonight, in my anger, my righteous anger, I may add, is my good friend, my brother from another mother, Mr. Joe Joseph.
You used righteous anger. I love that term. It is, like you said,
have to go about 5 or 6 extra states just to go around it. So they're probably somebody sold out, and they're probably going to run it over a smaller portion of the over the aquifer. But all you need to do is have one little leak, Joe.
Right.
But of course, that never happens. Like these oil companies have a safety record that's impeccable, right? Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Right. Wait a minute. I have to put down the drugs because I'm not looking at reality. I'm in La La Land. Hold on. Let me slap myself. Have a cup of coffee. Oh, let me look at the safety record now. Oh God. I guess I really wouldn't want them running it through the aquifer.
You know, isn't it interesting? It's like I say all the time, how backwards things are and just how incredibly naive people are to believe what they're told by talking heads in the mainstream media and by bureaucrats. It makes absolutely no sense to me. And why? Why is there an oil pipeline going down to the Gulf of Mexico? You know, that's my thing. What do we need it for? I don't know.
And breaking news, just to get this out there, because Rob is a friend of mine. He's been a guest on the show. Guy that runs Pig Mine YouTube channel. He's been doing it for a couple of years now. He's very big. He's up to Pig Mine number 3. Apparently, he got a death threat. So against him and his family.
Really?
Yeah. Apparently,
Why?
It happened.
What for?
I'm sure because of the information he puts out. You know, I mean, and it might not even be some government stooge. It could just.
It is probably. It's one thing that people really don't understand.
There's anger, and then there's righteous anger.
Man,
that it's okay to be effing angry, right, Joe?
I mean, there's so many damn things going on that you should be angry about. Holy crap! I mean, just today alone, you know, the GOP says Keystone Pipeline to stay in the payroll tax bill, which means that they're going to approve this Keystone Pipeline thing to go through. Anybody that doesn't understand what the Keystone Pipeline is, just think about this. When you're in your neighborhood or you drive through your town, every once in a while you will hear something on the radio or on TV, or maybe it'll happen in your own neighborhood where you have a water main break, right? Because you typically don't maintain pipes that are buried under the ground. It just doesn't happen. If it breaks, you go ahead and you repair it. Well, enter the Keystone oil pipeline that runs from Canada all the way down to the
Joe,
Gulf
these
of Mexico.
these oil companies don't have a history of like oil leaks or anything, right?
Oh, it's not. Sure. And nuclear power is safe too, but we'll get into that later. The problem is this pipeline, Popeye, goes right through the Ogallala Aquifer, the biggest aquifer in the United States. So what kind of...
I heard that they agreed that they were going to move it around the aquifer, but I don't know if that's true or not. I heard about a week, maybe a week and a half ago.
I haven't seen
going to go around a certain portion of it or whatever, but I know the aquifer is huge, and they planned on running it like right through the middle of it.
Yeah, I don't see how much they can go around it. I mean, the thing is enormous, and they were going